This is WFYI News Now. It's February 19th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, major property tax reform legislation advances to the House. The Indianapolis Housing Agency resumes in-person walk-in sessions for Section 8 voucher holders and landlords. And a bill that would jail and fine people sleeping on state property is making its way through the Indiana State House, but it's facing opposition.
When jail populations go up, fewer and fewer services are available in county jails because they run out of the space they use to utilize those services.
Those stories coming up, but first. Purdue University has announced a new fundraising campaign with the goal to raise $4 billion in the next 5 years. The new campaign builds off of two previous fundraising campaigns, which exceeded expectations and raised $4.2 billion. The campaign will focus on expansion in Indianapolis, the School of Business, and an initiative that includes artificial intelligence. The money will be used to support scholarships and research. Purdue President Mung Chiang plans to visit Purdue alumni across the world to share more about fundraising. Major property tax reform legislation that proponents call a work in progress advanced to the House on Monday. The measure is focused on helping older Hoosiers, disabled veterans, and first-time home buyers. It also limits how much local governments can collect in property taxes each year. Republican Senator Dan Durnell says he understands that property tax reform can't hit local government budgets too hard.
But I also hear from my constituents the need for tax relief. So we have to have that balancing act, if you will.
The Senate approved the bill 37-10, with Republicans and Democrats voting both for it and against it. Some of those who voted no say the legislation doesn't provide local governments with any replacement revenue to help offset budget losses. Others say it does nothing to help renters. Republican Senator Mike Young says the bill doesn't help anybody.
The taxpayers I've heard from, they're not in favor of it. They don't like it, and they don't think they're going to get any benefit out of this bill.
Young says the full Senate should have had the chance to vote on Governor Mike Braun's proposal, which would have rolled every homeowner's tax bill back to 2021 levels. The Indianapolis Housing Agency has resumed in-person walk-in sessions for Section 8 voucher holders and landlords. The sessions have proven necessary for many renters who are unable to reach anyone at IHA by phone or email. Walk-ins take place from 1 to 3 p.m. every other Wednesday at the IHA headquarters on Meridian Street downtown, starting this week. This week will also be the first for new IHA CEO, Yvonne Bean. She is tasked with making over the troubled agency that has been under federal control since April last year. An investigation from our reporting partners, Mirror Indy, found that the agency has struggled for more than 2 decades to properly administer its Section 8 voucher program. And for our final story today, a bill that would jail and fine people sleeping on state property passed out of committee this week. WFYI's Elizabeth Gabriel reports the legislation is moving forward despite more than a dozen community members testifying against it.
House Bill 1662 would force police officers to jail anyone who has lived on state property for at least 24 hours after receiving a warning. People would get a Class C misdemeanor, which includes up to 60 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. Mike Bieberstein is the lobbyist for the Indiana Sheriff's Association. He opposes the bill and says jails don't have the space to accommodate more people and supply them with mental health support.
When jail populations go up, fewer and fewer services are available in county jails because they run out of the space they use to utilize those services.
Over 6,000 people were counted as experiencing homelessness in Indiana in 2023. The bill now moves to the full House for a vote. I'm Elizabeth Gabriel.
And that's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, And I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.